Welcome to the Behind the Drapes podcast. I'm your host, Expo Rich, and we are recording here at CISO CEO Summit here in Kiawah Island. And I have my longtime friend, Nicole Peck, Executive Vice President of Clarion Events North America. Thank you for being here with me today, Nicole.
This is so fun.
It is, and it's a long time coming. You know, we started a long time ago with Biz Bash, and so it's been such a great honor to see your career go from way back then to where it's at today, and so been blessed to have you as a friend and to watch your journey so far. And before we get into the now,
hold on a second.
Right.
I get to say something to that.
Okay.
Because I can reciprocate and say same. It's been really a privilege to get to watch you really take Expo to soaring new heights.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
I too get to have a front row seat to watching your career.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And before we talk about what's going on right now,
Okay.
I want to take it back to the origin.
Okay.
What was your first gig? How'd you even find the industry? How'd you end up working for your first event?
Oh, it's a boring story because it's just like everyone else's default.
Yeah. Well, which show was it?
Really, my very first job out of college was working for a company called SIGS Publications, Special Interest Group.
Okay.
Publications, and it was a B2B media and trade show organizer, really small. And all of the events were for software programmers and technology. So it was C++, Java, object technology. And we had small 1-day or 2-day trade shows to accompany these media titles. And I started off in the circulation department because I thought being in publishing would be a really cool place for really smart people, and I like the B2B side of the publishing industry. And within probably 3 months of joining the company, the marketing team said, "What are you doing in Circ? You need to be part of the marketing team." And then within another 6 or 7 months, the event team said, "Wait a minute, you should be a part of the events team." And so I started off young and launched a couple of job fairs as well, like within the events.
Nice.
So a long time.
So it was nice. You got to bounce around and kind of see it all.
See it all. Be a little bit of be a part of all the various pieces and sizes, and you could really sort of track my entire career has been a variety of B2B publishing event companies, and watching the evolution of the industry kind of go. Yeah.
And then, were there any times that you went outside of the industry, or you went industry? And
It's a great question. Yes, I've had a few blips, and I would call them blips. During the dot-com bubble or moment, I worked for a dot-com, and this was in the late 90s. But again, it was a company that was based on information. We were learn, find, buy around chips and for electronics engineers.
Okay.
So we had this robust website where we partnered with EE Times, and CMP Media was one of the investors in this company. And so we had this great media platform, this really robust database of all the chips. And then the idea was you'd learn about it, you'd find them, and then you'd buy them. Okay. And we were well ahead of our time because nobody had credit cards or our target market couldn't actually pay for it. So that was a couple of years. So I worked for .com. I worked for Doubleday. So on the book clubs, remember the Book of the Month club? You'd see the inserts in magazines. So I did a stint at Doubleday, and a couple of other things here and there. But ultimately, I've always ended up back in the events world.
It was in your blood. You couldn't get away from it.
Correct.
So. Now that you are executive vice president, you're in a position of leadership. Usually I like to say that people don't become leaders on accident. So along the way, I'm sure there were some people. So tell me about some of the mentors you've had throughout the years that really pulled you up and helped you become the leader you are.
It's a really great question. In this industry, for sure, Kerry Gumas was, I called him one of my first great CEOs last night to somebody. So I worked for Kerry at QuestX, and although Kerry was a couple of levels above me at the time, Kerry one year was asked by CISO, interestingly enough, to put up hypos for at the time it was going to be redefining the leadership summit, or we renamed it the leadership summit that year, so the summer conference.
Right.
And Kerry identified me for that opportunity, and I've always been grateful because he opened up the world and the rest of the industry to me. Angela Scalpello has been someone that I have admired and looked up to for years, and has really given me really sound advice and guidance.
And she now leans in, and that's mentorship is her thing.
It really is. And I'd say that through the years, there are other individuals that have not only mentored me, but sponsored me. And
there's a difference too.
There is a huge difference. And there's nothing better for me in many rooms to walk through a door with David Adler, who, he's like having my own PR firm walking a step ahead of me. And I've always been really grateful for the sponsorship he's provided to me as well.
So you have had some really good sponsors and mentors throughout your time.
I have, and
sure.
I've got quite a few that I'm not quite naming, but there are really, I've never been afraid to ask for help.
Wow. Well, that a lot of people are, and that's a good thing too.
Yeah,
that you're
it's not a sign. To me, it's not a sign of weakness in the least bit. I'd rather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather get people to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or more than I do.
So as we round out this year and maybe into 2027, what's something that has you excited to jump out of bed in the morning?
That's a great question. So it's really interesting. My portfolio is what we refer to as the digital innovation portfolio at Clarion, and it has two events. One is ITC Vegas, or InsurTech Connect, and the other one is MAU, which stands for Mobile Audiences Unlocked. We used to call it Mobile Apps Unlocked, but we're in the process of reimagining what that looks like for our audiences. And I have exceptional humans on these teams that are putting in the work. They have real grit, they show resilience, and both of these industries are not industries that repeat year after year, and they don't look the same year to year. Because they are evolving industries and spaces, it means that the landscape is constantly shifting, which means we as a team have to, it's almost like, the book about who moved my cheese, with the cheese.
I love that book.
Right? So my team has to figure out where that cheese is moving to in 2 years or in a year. And so I really enjoy that I speak and take long conversations with our advisors on our advisory boards, that we empower our community very much to tell us where they believe it's going. We listen in, we lean hard, but it also means that the team has to, nothing is just because we did it last year. So it is exhausting, but at the same time, it's energizing because they are an extremely talented group of people. And so for me, that is the motivation that gets me out the door.
That's awesome. So last question.
Sure.
So CISO, so you've been going since Leadership Summit, like you said, many moons ago. Not that many though.
Not that many.
So what is something that CISO has, some value that CISO brings to you personally to attend events like CEO Summit or maybe even Leadership? So what?
It's a great question. And why do I come back? I come back because there is a serious camaraderie within this industry, and it's incestuous, as we know. People are constantly sort of moving chairs, moving seats in the room. So it's really nice to watch and see individuals and learn from individuals who are in the various stages of their career and company growth. So to watch my peers now or in different roles and get to still talk to them and understand their challenges and listen to figure out how I can learn from whatever it is they are struggling with, or figure out how I can provide to others. So for me, it's a bit of a give back as well as a learning opportunity. And we are in a really interesting industry that many outside the industry do not quite understand what our day-to-day looks like or our year-to-year looks like. So sometimes it's just, the war stories of of how did your year go, and what are you seeing, how are you hearing, and how are you working with the challenges of today. Yeah.
So that knowledge exchange, and I mean just I often hear, I ask a lot of people that question, and it's the openness of the sharing, here is pretty extraordinary too. So
yeah, I try to listen.
Yeah.
I'm always willing to share.
Well, I just mean like nobody holds their cards tight. So that
Right. Yeah. People are willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think to hope to get the help.
Yeah. And help people better the industry as a whole too. Yeah. So,
This is we're in an interesting time and place, and the challenges they seem to just be called different names. Also, year to year, it's the same challenges that we're having year to year. But I do believe that as an industry, we are tackling new challenges in security and how to secure our events, our people, our places. And I don't think that was necessarily top of mind for people a few years back, and now that's one of my main concerns coming into events. So to be able to talk about that with others that are navigating events 2 to 20 times the size of my events, and sharing some of their successes and some of their failures that I don't make the same. Something that I take super seriously. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Rich.
And
Appreciate
have a great
it.
rest of the conference.
Thank you. You too.